This podcast is brought to you by On Track Studio. The most damaging piece of advice that I am hearing being fed to business owners today is just be consistent. I've had countless strategy calls off the back of selling my book over the last month with so many different business owners in so many different industries. And there's been a really alarming through line where I can really identify what's keeping them stuck. And it really does surmise down to this. So the number one question I ask when I audit someone's account and we're in this strategy space is, how do you feel about your content at the moment? And an alarming amount of people are saying to me, really good, Sophie, I'm really feeling really good about my content at the moment. And then the follow-up question becomes, how many leads or how many inquiries did you get off the back of your content this month just gone? And then they would say, none. And I'm thinking, okay, so what metric are you tracking internally or externally to warrant your experience with your own content being great if it's not actually achieving the desired outcome of sales and leads in your business? It stops them in their tracks. It really comes down to what I've noticed is that they self-assess themselves to be doing great content when it's being done. Because there is so much demand to be creating so much content, we as business owners are accustomed to kind of giving ourselves a tick once we've completed an activity as opposed to the activity completing the outcome that we're after. So if you're someone who, for example, these are the kinds of things that I have been seeing in my strategy calls, where you sit down maybe once a week for a certain amount of hours to actually just batch record your reels or write all of your captions, create on Canva and, schedule out your content, and you're telling yourself, yes, I'm happy with my content creation at the moment. This is a sign that you're probably trapped in what I call, the posting cycle. And I want you to zoom out for a moment to really acknowledge what could be a better approach for you to actually get your content performing in a way that matters to you outside of the fact it's done. And it's probably going to be no surprise to everyone who has listened to my videos before that I'm going to be speaking about long form content again. But one really big indication to me that there is an incomplete content strategy at play is if there is absolutely no access to spend time with you and your brand and your content in an intimate setting for at least 7 hours at a time. We want you to have at least a 7-hour library of content in the bank for new people and existing audiences to be able to go binge and get to know you, your brand, your offering in that sort of setting, so that they are actually getting the psychological programming, not to, get all weird with you, but yeah, it's a manipulation tactic to actually connect with your audience in a way that's really going to get them over the line in terms of buying from you. If you are purely focusing on short form content, psychologically, your client is not actually getting the amount of time with you to actually influence them to purchase with you, even if your content is amazing. So there's the time issue that I'm seeing a lot of people not have set up in their businesses, which is the bare minimum. In 2026, you really need to have at least a long form element with your content at play. And outside of that, there are 3 things that I'm noticing in the people's social media presence that aren't actually having success yet with their business. That could be what's happening for you that I would suggest making a change to if you want to really see results in 2026. In the businesses that content's not working for them, there tends to be a real lack of infusion of them in their content. So these are the accounts that really over-rely on graphics, and graphics are great. That carousels are performing really well on Instagram at the moment, but you really need to make sure that you are centered in the content, not just by way of course, the obvious one is by a video or by imagery and really inserting yourself visually in the content. That's going to, of course, increase trust with people who find you, and don't sleep on that piece of advice. It's definitely important, but more so in the way of actually storytelling. Now, I remember when I first started On Track and, I had to get myself into creating content for my own business instead of other businesses. And this was 5 years ago, right? And I remember the definition of valuable content back then was really educational heavy. And you used to just be able to kind of create content around how to, for example, start a podcast, and you would really be able to get a lot of traction on your posts, really be able to grow your account and get a lot of inquiries from that style of content. But I think because of, the rise of accessibility to information on the internet nowadays, especially with AI, that content isn't really performing well. So instead, it's really helpful for people who are trying to get leads from their content to actually sort of steer away from educational how-to and go into and really be sharing about, this is what pivots I made in XYZ to achieve XYZ outcome. So that's just a really easy, prompt for you the next time you go to create content, is insert yourself into the story. The number 2 piece of advice is, what I'm also noticing is there's a real lack of conversion pathway from your account online to actually booking a call with you. If you do not have a link in your bio right now where people can actually go and book a call with you or a team member, or sign up for your email freebie, or something that's actually going to, again, integrate them into your world further, then that is the first place to start. You cannot expect to be getting inquiries from your content if there is no pathway set out for them to do so. And the third thing that I will say with love, I'm holding your hand as I say this, is have a little look at the quality of the content that you're putting out. And I'm talking about the actual physical look and feel of the assets. If it's video, if it's imagery, if it's literally anything on your social pages, just make sure it's clear, it's easy to read. If it's text, it's really easy to watch if it's video. I mean, every single business owner at the moment kind of has to become their own media agency, and we can't do a thing about it. And some people are resisting this in your current business, but this could be just the smallest switch, the most simple switch from what makes your content attracting clients versus repelling clients. You could have the most beautifully put piece of text or well-spoken piece of advice and storytelling and doing everything else that I've talked about in this episode. But if it can't be heard or seen, like if it's blurry or the mic's not very good, it's just a waste of time. It's important to really prioritize the work that you are doing and not waste your time by, cutting corners on the production. At the end of the day, time is money, and you could be putting, half as much time into your content, but actually making it better by investing in the appropriate equipment or investing in the appropriate team to actually get it looking schmick and well done. And it could go, 4 times as far than what you're currently doing. Yeah, I say that with love because, back to the top of this episode, if I'm talking about, consistency and this narrative of just being consistent, but if you're just being consistent on really bad audio, blurry videos, hard to read text, and you keep beating that dead horse, excuse that expression, but you know what I mean. If you just keep telling yourself you have to be consistent, but it's not up to scratch, then you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and what you really could be doing is a lot less, and it would be going a lot further. Let me know in the comments if you've made any of these changes to your own content and seen positive growth, or any other piece of advice that you would share with people who may be stuck in the same cycle, and I'll see you in the next video.